afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Vermont's fairs and field days are a summer tradition. Whether you're interested in prize-winning pumpkins, tractor pulls, or the Midway, fairs and field days hold something for everyone. According to the Department of Tourism, the events draw more than 400,000 visitors every year, and every fair has its own traditions. In our 60th anniversary archive, we found a segment on one of the most popular traditions at the Addison County Fair and Field Days. To begin today's Flashback Friday, here's the story from Andy Gordon.
5.1 on that one, 85.1.
Nothing says Addison County Fair and Field Days better than perhaps an old-fashioned tractor pull.
I'm just watching tractor pulls.
And beyond the grinding of tractor gears,
Single front tire.
you can find, or should I say, smell, hog heaven. Maybe not exactly heaven for the hog, but certainly heaven for those who come to Fair and Field Days for the food.
Fresh hot dough, like Grandma used to make.
Whether it's a tasty treat like fried dough,
Real cheese.
or something a little more substantial like a foot-long sausage. Everyone can agree that beyond the tractor pulls and flashy midways,
How about it? Who wants to be next to the lucky winner?
food vendors are perhaps one of the most popular reasons for coming out.
The Dusty Chuck is one of the food booths that the Addison County 4-H Foundation owns.
Done, tell her done.
Dusty Chuck is the name,
Here you go, hot dog.
serving up your typical fair and field day food.
No, you just put the fries in and cook them for a while until they're done and pull them out.
Burgers and french fries. And to wake people up from a long day of fairing,
It's really good.
coffee seems to be, as always, high in demand.
Well, we're here at the Dusty Chuck, and this is the best coffee I've had since we got here in Vermont.
The only minor difference that separates the Dusty Chuck from other vendors on the strip
Just fun.
It's a lot of fun.
is that 4-H'ers
I've been in 4-H for 7 years.
run the entire operation.
Well, you know, you're helping people out.
These 4-H'ers are used to working with cows and horses.
I look forward to showing cows and, like you said, working at the Dusty Chuck. It's a lot of fun.
But through learning by doing,
One year there'll be a waiter, the next year there'll be a fryer.
they're trading the show ring for the kitchen.
How to work with money, how to work with the people, like all the business.
They're taking the orders, they're handling the money, they're dealing with a few vouchers that come in.
University of Vermont Extension 4-H educator Robin Severy rattles off quite an extensive list.
There's a variety of different jobs, and we start with them very young.
Duties that these young 4-H'ers are responsible for, starting with bussing tables and over the years moving up to working the fryer.
They're all having to do different aspects of the whole money, dealing with the public, taking the orders, getting things straight in that area is not always easy.
Working at the Dusty Chuck means you're working on life skills.
Just a ton of different skills that are being learned in there.
If they ask you for something, you know exactly what they want and how to get it without having to ask them twice.
How to prepare the food and safety stuff, like with the fryer and stuff like that.
So it gives them a lot of hands-on in different areas.
But also skills that go beyond working at the Dusty Chuck.
It's easier to talk with people now.
Like Kyle, other 4-H'ers come into the program a little shy, lacking people skills.
I was shy when I was young, and I've opened up a lot, I guess.
Severy says by working at the Dusty Chuck, 4-H'ers from different clubs like dairy and horse work together under one roof. And through the combined effort of getting burgers out to hungry customers, the 4-H'ers build skills and relationships.
There'll be a lot of times there'll be shy kids, kids that don't know other kids because they're not all from the same club and stuff. They make new friendships. They'll start to come out of their shells.
I'm not as shy anymore. It probably has helped me a lot with my communication skills and people skills overall.
Yeah, this is it's a really great learning experience for the kids. It gets them out of their individual project area, whether it's horse, dairy, sheep, youth exhibit hall. It gets them out interacting with other kids, interacting with the general public, and it's a whole different ball game for each one of these kids.
There may be an extra hitch pin in the toolbox of my Kubota.
So while the tractors keep pulling,
104.04 feet.
and the midway becomes more alive as the day goes on,
Winner each and every time, don't be shy.
the Dusty Chuck continues to keep customers satisfied,
The money, how to run it, what you need to do, different things.
knowing themselves that under the disguise of a fair and field days vendor,
Also, like working with money, working with the foods, I've changed a lot.
the 4-H motto of learning by doing is alive and well. In New Haven, I'm Andy Gordon with Across the Fence.
From Addison County, we now move to Chittenden County. Every year, members of the Green Mountain Bonsai Society display their work at the Champlain Valley Fair. It's a chance to get a close-up look at tiny trees that have been part of Asian cultures for centuries. It wasn't until the 19th century that Europeans were introduced to bonsai. In 2006, Across the Fence's Keith Silva met up with members of the Green Mountain Bonsai Society to find out more about the history and tradition of the ancient art.
From the outside, Millbrook Bonsai in Jericho appears tranquil, in line with the Far East philosophies of harmony and self-discipline. But inside the workshop, an ages-old conflict is taking place, a battle of wills between man and nature.
Did you hear it scream?
And right now, it looks like this juniper doesn't stand a chance. Or does it?
We can't bend the tree to be perfectly satisfactory, so we will bend our minds to fit the tree.
Rod Larrow is a member of the Green Mountain Bonsai Society. Twice a year, the society exhibits their labors of love at the Champlain Valley Fair and at the annual Vermont Flower Show. It's a chance for the public to see these works of art.
You see, looking into the tree, you see something beautiful and unique. And so you do what you can to enhance that, which usually involves an awful lot of bending and trimming and pruning and all that. But hopefully you'll come out with a preparation that's like a nice painting or something that perhaps will endure for years.
The art of growing bonsai trees began in China over 1,000 years ago. It is said that the Chinese bonsai trees come from the landscape of the imagination, their trunks and roots resembling dragons, animals, or birds. Bonsai were introduced in Japan in the early 12th century as the influence of Zen Buddhism spread across the country. It wasn't until the 19th century at exhibitions in London, Vienna, and Paris that Europeans got their first look at these diminutive works of branch, bark, and leaf.
The Japanese have their style is, I would say, very controlling in that the tree has to be just so, with limbs all very properly placed and foliage masses all just right. Whereas the Chinese maybe are a little more apt to let the tree make the decisions. And they have some more somewhat bizarre shapes to their trees.
What about Rod Larrow?
I have Rod Larrow shapes to my trees.
A bonsai tree's shape is a harmony between the tree and the craftsman who bends it into shape by using wire that spreads out across the tree's trunk and limbs and holds the artist's vision in place, at least for the time being.
If you're going to study bonsai, you must learn the rules, and there are many, many rules. But if you're going to create bonsai, you must ignore the rules. For instance, this little tree is an interesting little tree. If you look into the tree, it has an interesting shape. It has nice roots, a lot of limbs, more or less in the appropriate places. You do get rather attached to your trees, some that you've had for a number of years, and you have this fuzzy vision of what they might be ultimately. It doesn't always happen. And you keep thinking, am I going to live long enough to see this tree develop into what I envision here?
Like clay in the hands of a potter, the trees are the raw material. Although dwarf sizes are common, some of the best bonsai come from native species found in the wild.
If this tree were planted out in your yard, it would grow into a normal juniper landscape bush. Many of the trees used for bonsai are a dwarf form and all that, but also many of them would be a normal tree under normal growing conditions. But since we restrict the roots in a pot and continue to prune and shape the upper portion of the tree, we can keep a tree like this small indefinitely. It does have to be periodically repotted and pruned on occasion. And it's the kind of thing you walk by it day after day and look at it, and all of a sudden one day you hear this wee small voice that said, I'm ready to have this done or that done. Sometimes it doesn't happen quickly. What's another word of wisdom? Make haste slowly. If there's a question about pruning off a limb or something, a serious question, stand back, have another sip of red wine, and think about it before you cut.
Patience, time, and devotion, all essential elements to creating and caring for these miniature masterpieces.
I tell people it's like having many 2-year-olds around, that you have to water them, fertilize them, reposition them so they get a proper light. On hot, windy days, they dry out very quickly. So there's the constant care. You can't ignore them for very long.
Perhaps the greatest challenge of caring for a bonsai tree is knowing when to say when.
At this point, I would probably back off and say that's it for today. Probably next summer, when it starts to make active growth, I would do some more work on it and further modify some of these limbs, perhaps cut out something like this, bend some of these and get them into a better position.
Even when you say you're done, you're still...
Yeah, you're never done.
We are done. Almost. In Jericho, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
That's all the time we have for this week's Flashback Friday. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again Monday afternoon on Across the Fence.